to the Sensational Six. However, today we are the Fabulous Five because our beloved Brad is traveling today to go visit his son in Denver. So he's with us in spirit, but he will not be joining in the conversation. But he will be back next week, and he's going to be actually teaching. So do tune in as well. Before we get started, I'd like to have everybody close your eyes and just take a moment for prayer as we take a nice breath of air in. And as we exhale, let's just set aside anything that took place from before this very moment and just anchor into the energy of learning, of expanding consciousness, recognizing that there is only one. There's only one thing going on here, and that is the expression of spirit through each and every person. And so I am grateful to see how that one is revealing itself through the wisdom of the Sensational Six. How those people who are interested to learn more and to expand their minds are asking questions. So we all come together in this beautiful, beautiful container of wisdom, of learning, of remembering the loving energy of spirit that works through spiritual law, allowing us to create a life that is abundant, that is whole, that is healthy, that is joyful, that is everything that our heart desires to be. And so I am knowing that we are all ready to jump into this morning, knowing that everything is unfolding through divine wisdom, and that this is a place where we can just be and expand ourselves and just know and remember the wisdom that lies deep within ourselves and invite it in to live by means of us. And so knowing in my heart that all is well, I'm so grateful to be a part of this wonderful morning, knowing that we are in our right and perfect place and that everything truly is unfolding for the wisdom of the heart to be made known to us, to live into and enjoy. And so knowing that all is unfolding with grace and ease, I release my word as law, knowing it is absolutely done, as we say together, and so it is.
So it is.
Well, good morning again, everybody. And if you're viewing this at another time, good day, good evening, whatever time it is, we're grateful that you're with us today. And so today, just to introduce ourselves and to reveal what is important to us about books, and a book in particular that maybe touched our hearts, the Sensational Six, or excuse me, the Fabulous Five. Each of us is going to just give you a little information about a book that touched us, and you'll learn about what we love to read about and what brings joy to our hearts and enlightenment to our soul. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Gail.
Thank you, Dale. So I'm really glad that the question isn't my most favorite book, but more my most recent favorite book, because I have so many. So my favorite, most recent book is called When Things Fall Apart, and the author is Pema Chodron, and she's an American Tibetan Buddhist. And I think I love this book so much because I love practical spirituality. I love gaining new tools, things that I can use and living experientially versus just simply learning intellectually. And this is a book that offers life-changing tools, not just advice, but actually tools that you can use for overcoming life's difficulties, which we all experience. And it does so through suggesting the opposite of what you might expect. It actually showed me how to move toward painful situations and events in my life and to become intimate with them, which opened me up, opened my heart up in ways that I could never before have imagined. And I've read many of Pema Chodron's books, and what I love about her as an author is that her message is written in such a universal way that she resonates with people, just people, no matter what the religion, their spiritual path, she just relates beautifully to all people. And for me, the bottom line is all of us experience heartache at some point in time. And this book taught me how to interact with those feelings in a productive way that can create a possibility of a more joy-filled life, even within that experience. Thank you for allowing me to share that most recent favorite book. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Cheryl and find out what she's reading right now.
Well, when I say it's my most favorite recent book, I work a lot, or I did, and now that we're all on shutdown, the recent one that I read, the most recent one I read was The Tao of Physics. and I had to read it for class, and that's terrible to admit that I haven't read. I mean, I've read bits and snips here and there, but I haven't really read a full book in a while. Um, the reason I like the Tao of Physics is it takes the Tao, which is an ancient teaching that basically, if you look at the trade routes from India all the way into China, then you would find out that a lot of the teachings from Hinduism actually went into China through the trade routes. And so the cool thing about it is that it looks at life as quantum physics. And what's really nice about it is this knowledge about quantum physics has really been around for a long time, not explained in the detail, but the knowing that we are all one energy, and that's it. And it's just like in the Tao, it says the God that can be explained is not the Tao. So that's not God. In other words, you can never fully explain or understand the mystery and the, excuse the word, Reverend Charles, the magic that is continually going on in our lives. If you look and you see all of the, if you just walk outside, that's all it takes for me to feel. I feel like when the wind is blowing on me, then I'm in the flow of energy, because all it is energy. And so I love to stand in, the energy. And right now we're getting enough wind. I'm really energized. but that's what I love about this book is it takes the ancient teachings and shows that this is a knowledge about quantum physics that's been around for 7,000 years. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, but now we're proving it. We've reached the point in our development and our evolution that we can now actually see the truth that has been the universal truth forever, so in our existence anyway. And so that's why I really love that book. It's called The Tao of Physics, and I cannot say the guy's name, but anyway, I'll let you know the name of the guy in a minute, but it's really, really good. So if you get an opportunity to read it, it's dense, but it's great. So thanks for letting me share that. And now I'm going to turn it over to William.
Well, good morning, everybody. Wow, those are some good books. I'd have to say for right now, a very impactful book is a book that we had to read during our ministerial class, and it's The One Thing by Gary Keller. What I liked about it is I'm a very artsy type of guy. I'm very left brain, right brain. I'm very right brain, and so I'm all over the place. What this book helped me do is focus on that one thing that is my passion. There's lots of things that I like to do, but it's really what is the one thing that wakes you up in the morning and drives you. And this book helps you find that and focus that energy, like a flashlight beam where you've got it on a wide mode. It lights up everything, but it's not quite as bright. But if you focus it, that in same amount of energy now brightens up that one little area. This book helps you find that passion and allows you to focus that energy into a cohesive, organized manner to help you expand your life and find more joy, more happiness, be more at peace with yourself. And so it's a wonderful book. Again, that's by Gary Keller. I highly recommend it. I recommend it to everyone that I come in contact with that kind of is floating around, not knowing what to do. It's a medium type of read. So it's not too heavy, but it keeps you engaged and makes you want to turn that page to the next one. So with that, I believe it's Lori's turn now.
It is. Well, I was going to share the one thing as well, but William did such an awesome job of giving you the overview that I'll share a different book, the one I'm actually reading this week, which is The Power of Eight. And you'll be hearing some more about that, but it is an exciting book. I'm not through it yet, but it's going into all the science behind the power of group intention, and the results and the science behind it are just amazing. So it's an exciting book. I haven't gotten to the nuts and bolts of the how to yet, but it's definitely going to be a focus going forward. And I know you'll be hearing some more about the power of eight coming up. So highly recommend it. It is an easy read too. I'm finding it like a very easy book to listen to or to read. So that's kind of a nice break. We read a lot of quantum physics and more heady stuff in our ministerial class. So it's nice to read something that's a little more light and just exciting. And so that is my recent book.
Thank you, Lori. A book that I found so profound that I've read it years ago, but it changed my life, and I always recommend it to people who are wanting to kind of break through into a deeper way of knowing who they are and their connection with all of life. And it's a book by Anita Moorjani, and it's called Dying to Be Me. And she had a near-death experience. She was ill with cancer, and she was kind of on, actually, she wasn't kind of, she was on her deathbed, and she had a near-death experience in which she was able to kind of go beyond her body. She believes that she experienced like a super consciousness, and she was able to just see the oneness of all life, and she got tuned into unconditional love for herself and everybody. And she returned back from this near-death experience and moved back into her life, and she was completely cured of cancer, and she hasn't had it return at all. And what she teaches people, which is such a profound lesson, and the book is so well written. Everybody I know, including myself, who's read the book, you end up reading it within 3 days because it's so well written. It's such a great read, and it is truly inspiring that because she was able to shift her consciousness to really getting what oneness is and really getting what unconditional love is, she really shifted, if you want to look at it scientifically, she shifted her body chemistry. And I believe it allowed her body to completely heal because she was able to really get the divinity that she and all life is, and it put her into a whole different consciousness. If you're wanting to have that kind of deep shift of consciousness and want to hear it through a wonderful story of a near-death experience and then what she experienced after that, it's a great, great read. And she was found by Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's the one that heard of her story, and he really put her out there into visibility. And now she's writing other books, and she tours, and she's a motivational speaker. You can see her on Facebook. But it's a game changer. It's one of those, for me, it was a life-changing experience, and it really got me into a place of being anchored in to what I really need to focus on and know to be in a place of experiencing life at this whole other wonderful level. So that's my book recommendation. And I appreciate everybody else's recommendations too. I love how we all come from different places, and together we create just this wonderful, perfect whole banquet of wonderful wisdom and energy to give to people. So I thank my beautiful brothers and sisters. Without further ado, we're going to jump into our next spiritual law. And just a reminder, I'm going to read you just a very brief snippet from Raymond Hollowell's book, Working with the Law. This is what Dr. Joe is, I think that might have been backwards. Anyways, I'm just going to read this to you, and then we're going to hand it over to Gail. He says here, "It is man's failure if his prayers are unanswered. The creative law is ever ready to answer and cannot fail to respond when approached rightly and wisely. At the moment that man is able to contact and to realize the law, he will at once enjoy the benefits. It is the realization of the law in action that determines manifestation." And this is the reason why we're teaching laws, spiritual laws, so that you guys can reach your destination of where you want to go in your life experience. And to focus on all these different parts of the law or different ways of expressing cause and effect, it really allows us to focus on whatever it is within ourselves that needs to be loosened up so that we can be in the flow of life and use these laws effectively and consciously for our greater good to be made manifest. So today it's all about the law of forgiveness, and I'm going to turn it over to Gail to give us her wisdom.
Thank you, Dale. And today's law, the law of forgiveness, is probably my favorite. And I guarantee you today's spiritual law is full of surprises. So the law of forgiveness, let's start exploring this powerful law and by first understanding the root word, which is forgive. And that way we're all starting from the same foundation. So the word forgive is a 2-syllable word. We've got for and give. And then when you switch the 2 syllables around, it simply means that you give up being angry or intolerant or however you're feeling, and you replace these feelings for something new. Maybe it's peace, maybe it's harmony. So you give up judgment or hatred and you replace it with feelings for something else. Maybe it's acceptance, maybe it's love. So forgive is an action word, it's a verb. And the word forgive is actually all about caring for yourself. So forgiveness, on the other hand, is a noun, not a verb. And it is a noun that beautifully reveals spiritual truth. And it means there is nothing to forgive. There's only that to love. Well, how did I jump into that definition? Well, first, forgiveness never means another's actions or your own were acceptable if they were not. That's not what forgiveness means. But spiritually speaking, there is nothing to forgive because nothing ever happens to us. Everything always happens through us. So whatever shows up, we're equal to it. Because like Cheryl explained to us 2 weeks ago when she walked us through the law of cause and effect, it's always operative. It's always working. And forgiveness has two sides. It's forgiving as in forgiving others, but also being forgiven. So with that foundation, what is the law of forgiveness? So the law of forgiveness combines both the verb or the action of forgive and the spiritual truth of forgiveness. And what the law actually says is this: we cannot be forgiven until we forgive others. We cannot be forgiven until we forgive others. That might be your first surprise. So as long as we harbor negative thoughts, thoughts of maybe anger or judgment, intolerance against others, we can't be happy. Simply because while we harbor those feelings, we are the ones that feel the results of them. So to be happy, to be free, we have to give up all of our unforgiving thoughts. So from this, forgiveness is never about the other person. Forgiveness is for you. It's to heal you. And you may feel justified in holding on to unforgiveness against another, or feel that you have the right to hold on to anger, but you've got to ask yourself this question: who am I hurting when I hold on to this anger and this unforgiveness? And please know that the answer is you. Although it may be very true that another person or people may have hurt you now or in the past, holding on to unforgiveness means that you continue to hurt you every time you relive the event, the occurrence, the situation, and you feel those feelings, and they are very, very strong feelings. So remember, the law of forgiveness says, forgive and you will be forgiven. And that includes forgiving yourself. So this is a pretty powerful law, given all that's going on today. So with this foundation, let's open this conversation up to this amazing panel in front of you to share their wisdom around this law, the law of forgiveness. So what jumps out to you, my friends?
I'll start. Forgiveness is what you do in order to keep yourself from feeling like and becoming a victim. So you're in resentment and you're in anger. And what we know about resentment and anger is that it's usually hurt feelings that causes anger, that causes resentment. Somebody has hurt your feelings and now you're stepping out into it. But it's a matter of, first of all, just forgiving yourself for harboring that for so long. And how much damage have you done to yourself by keeping that resentment and that anger inside of you all the time? And so, do you want to walk through life being a victim? And believe me, I know that story. Or do you want to walk through life feeling free and peaceful and full of serenity and just being happy? Because when you keep recreating those thoughts, you keep bringing that anger and resentment right back into your life. You just keep redoing it over and over again every time you think about it. And it blocks you from your good, is what Gail was saying. It blocks you from experiencing the full majesty of this beautiful life that we've been given. So the first thing is to forgive. And then when you forgive, move to gratitude for the lesson you learned. Move to gratitude about the thoughts that you're no longer going to keep. And now you're freeing up your mind to have something new and better and more exciting replace all of that. So just think about forgiveness is a big deal. And like Gail said, it's not that what they did was acceptable or how they hurt you or whatever happened was acceptable. It just means that it no longer has any place in your life and you no longer give it any space in your head. That's it.
I'll piggyback on you, Cheryl, take it to the next place. So I know that things that give rise to needing to be forgiven, it's pretty intense emotion. And when I'm walking people through forgiveness, there's a really important step, because when you say, well, you have to forgive them, there can be a real constriction and a tightening and a no way, they hurt me so bad, that kind of energy. And so for me, what works really the best way to walk through this path of forgiveness is to allow yourself to just experience all those feelings, get them out, write about it, talk to somebody, just let it all come out. Because once we've expressed all of the feelings around whatever circumstance, then we have an open space to be able to move to the next step, which is working on the actual forgiving part. But it's really important to be mindful of what we need to do to get to forgiveness, because I think sometimes it's really hard for people to be in that state of no way to, okay, now I'm gonna be open to that now. So work with what's coming up for you regarding whatever's on your plate to forgive, or somebody that needs forgiveness, or if it's yourself, and allow yourself each stage so that you can move through the experience and get to forgiveness at the end of the day. Because like what Gail and Cheryl are saying, when we're in a state of unforgiveness, our flow is really blocked, and we're not able to really be in life in its fullest expression of what it is.
It's definitely a journey, I can say for myself. It's something I've been working with and looking at for a long time. And the center that we studied at for our ministerial, their mission statement is love only, forgive everything. And everybody always goes, everything? Yes, everything. And remember who you are. And when that vision statement came forth, I went, I'm taking that for me personally in my life. And so when stuff comes up, I just, oh, forgive everything, boom. And it just made it kind of a non-negotiable thing, but that was a long journey to get there. It was that understanding of like, if I really remember who I am and I understand how the universe works, how the law works, then everything that comes into my life is either by default, something I'm unconscious about, or invitation. And so there's something for me to see in everything. And if I focus on that lesson, then I'm less likely to get upset, because now I'm just curious. Ooh, where'd this come from? And I get there are degrees of things showing up, and it is a process, as Dale said. But I'll tell you, this showed up in my life a couple years ago when I could have easily gone to building a case, you know? You know how we do that, right? We have a conclusion about somebody and then we start to build a case against them and why they shouldn't be forgiven. And as I put one step in that direction, because I was going through some um grief, really. And you want that automatic response is to just want to blame somebody, right? And I put one step in that direction and I went, oh yikes, no. No. And it was because I had practiced this law of forgiveness for so long. Then when something really big came up for me, I was able to not go through a lot of to get there. I could just simply make a choice. Right now, I'm about to choose what direction I go in. Love only, forgive everything, or start to build a case and get myself upset, worked out, and keep going down that path. You end up getting sick, and it's not. It's just not constructive energy. And that's, it's not about right and wrong. It's about, is it constructive or is it unconstructive? And choosing, you're always going to have that pivotal moment where you get to choose to practice this law. And it is so worth it because the outcome of that situation for me was so much better than I could have ever imagined it being because I chose not to go down that path of even needing to forgive. It opened up this incredible heart space and this incredible experience for me to be in a relationship with somebody I could have easily chosen not to be. And I'm so glad that I put that into practice. And it is practice. So if you're not to that point yet where you put your foot down on that path of getting upset and you go down a ways, no, you can turn around at any second and choose a different direction like that. And it can become non-negotiable, which I really love, like not forgiving. It's non-negotiable now. My mandate is to forgive everything. It's not up for debate anymore in my own head. So,
Well, I guess it's my turn. Listening to all the explanations and their interpretations of the law of forgiveness, I just realized that this may be one of the only laws that really deals with relationships. All the other ones are an internal working of finding your path and the law of abundance, that sort of stuff. But the law of forgiveness, every one of these examples has been about a relationship. I'm not talking about a relationship that's family or an ex. The person going down the street who cut you off, that is relationship. If you hold on to that, harbor that ill thought, again, the forgiveness allows you to move on past that experience and opens yourself up for, like what Gail said, for what's next. Um, we all have our own stories, and I've got my own stories about forgiveness. And let me tell you what, it is true what they say uh, about forgiving that person for whatever they've done or what you think that they've done. Ultimately, we are spirit. We are God in action, and we are here to expand, to experience life. And sometimes those relationships are stagnant. You're caught in a whirlpool, going in circles, going nowhere. And either you or that other person finally threw in that towel. Oh, hold on. Give me just a quick second. Even though I'm here, I'm still working at the center, and we're doing some stuff at the center, and our sound guy has got to need some help here. So let me get going here real quick, and I'll put myself on mute. Anyway, so the law of forgiveness, just take that first step and allow yourself to forgive that person for whatever transgression that you think that they've done, because ultimately it's like what Gail has said, you're releasing that negative energy within yourself. And we are here to expand. We are here to explore. We are here to enlighten ourselves, which in turn then enlightens other people's, again, those relationships that we have in the future and even right now. If you have not forgiven, you cannot be all that you can be. And not to use a military, be all you can be in the Army, but be all you can be, darn it. Forgive that person. Allow yourself to release that energy and allow the positive, the life-giving energies that are within you, allow those to come up and to expand and to enlighten and enrich your life. And when your life is enriched, you cannot help but enrich others around you. And with that, I'm going to give it back to Gail. I'm going to find out what Barry Bond needs.
Well, thank you, William. I just wanted to kind of repeat one thing that Lori so wisely said. And she spoke about forgiveness now being non-negotiable for her because she has practiced. And I really want to reemphasize that. Try practicing on those smaller things. That's what I did, is I tried working on those smaller things first. And then, as Lori said, when you arrive at a bigger forgiveness in your life, then you are practiced up and it truly is non-negotiable. And I loved what William talked about with relationships. And I also just want to add, it also is all about the relationship with yourself, because the law of forgiveness is also, it's very important that you are able to forgive yourself. And sometimes, believe it or not, that's the hardest task of all. So when we're going to forgive everything, it means not only others, but forgiving ourselves as well. So several weeks ago, when the six of us talked about what we wanted to do for the next few weeks, and we decided we wanted to bring to you spiritual laws. And we said, we think these laws are important because once you understand them, you can use them to your benefit in your life. And one thing we haven't really talked about in the last 5 spiritual laws, this being the 5th one we've covered, is, well, what happens when a spiritual law isn't understood or it's used incorrectly? So we generally say, we use the term a mistake has been made, depending upon the perception or the severity or maybe the custom that you might be coming from. And in some cases, that mistake also might be called a sin. We hear that term synonymously. And a sin then is simply a mistake or an incorrect use of a spiritual law. And what can we do to correct a mistake? Because we all make them, either made by us or made by another. Well, again, we come back to that spiritual law of forgiveness, forgiving ourselves as well as forgiving others. So this explanation takes us back to that initial understanding that we started out with in our session today about that root word, which is forgive. So give up certain ideas to create space for new ideas. And that's exactly what Dale said. You can become so full of these feelings that you don't have space for something else. Think about it as a bottle which is already full. It's got to be emptied, right, before we can refill it or we can add to it. It's exactly what happens with forgiveness. So if you can retrain, if you can retain in your mind unforgiveness for someone who you feel has wronged you, or to forgive yourself, and that is what fills up your bottle, then you cannot be free from your own wrongdoings while you hold on to that thought in your consciousness. It's like that full bottle. So remember the law of forgiveness. We cannot be forgiven until we forgive others. Think about that full bottle and emptying that bottle so you have space for, as William said, your greatest yet to be.
Yeah, we have some great comments coming in. One is, thank you for a good discussion this morning, which I thought was nice. We don't really have any questions here, but one of them was that a person, Russ D, put on here, detachment without indifference from Eckhart Tolle. So I thought that was kind of, that's kind of what it is. It's all about. Anybody want to expand on that? Anyway, the next one is forgiveness is the greatest gift that you can give yourself. And that is so true. I mean, when it's mainly about forgiveness is not, like we've said several times, it's not about the other person. It's not about the other situation. It is about you. You're the one that has to do the work. So anyway, anyone else have anything to say? Or we have another question here.
Cheryl, before you read it, I'll just jump in on this.
Okay.
And maybe Gail touched on this, and I've heard people say that forgiveness should be a spiritual practice, something that we do every day. Mm-hmm. And this will, if you start, we're going to be talking about the power of intention coming soon. And if you put intention on forgiveness, even if you're feeling kind of tentative about walking into what needs to be forgiven, just saying, you know what, I'm going to set the intention that I'm ready now to take on whatever I need or whoever I need to forgive. And I'm just going to start opening my energy to that. If you do that every day, maybe create a forgiveness journal and just write in it every day. Ask yourself, well, who or what do I need to forgive today? And just let yourself sit in that. Write whatever you need to write. Go as far as you're comfortable going, but do it every single day as a spiritual practice. And eventually you will get to a place like what Lori was describing, where it is a non-negotiable, where there's, and I loved what you said, because I have that same thing where if I feel like I'm going down the rabbit hole, I have like an immediate reaction and say, whoa, no, redirect. But yeah, when you practice this stuff, you build up this power to choose a better way to respond to life and the stuff that comes up. So give it a shot, make it a spiritual practice for you, make it comfortable for you. And, you know, we're always here to ask questions if you bump into anything that you need clarity around.
Mm-hmm. The next, well, there is a question that we had kind of put together, but it's, can any of what you're sharing around the law of forgiveness be scientifically proven? Does anybody want to address that?
So I can jump in on that. So yes, the answer is it absolutely can be scientifically proven. So science has actually proven that the lack of forgiveness is toxic, very toxic. And science has shown that feelings create chemical reactions, whether they are feelings of elation or feelings of anger. They create chemical reactions, and negative feelings create toxic hormones in our bodies. And those hormones actually flood our bodies. And that creates the potential for mental, for physical illness, for disease, or even worse. It always pops out somewhere. So yes, it has been scientifically proven, and lack of forgiveness is extremely toxic. Dale mentioned the gratitude or the forgiveness journal. One thing I love to do is, particularly at night, is to have a journal next to my bed and to write down anything around the area of forgiveness. When I do that, I sleep like a baby. The difference is just amazing. So I love my forgiveness journal at the end of the day. Really has made a difference in my life.
So I'll jump on that. Your body doesn't know the difference between something actually happening in physical reality and you retelling the story in your head. So if you didn't enjoy it the first time around, you might want to consider not revisiting it. It's like if you go to a restaurant and you get food poisoning, you probably would not go to that restaurant and order the same thing again, or even go to that restaurant. But to me, w- it's like you're revisiting, and that chemical response happens exactly as it did that first time around. So you keep infusing those hormones into your body because there's heat around it. That's that dispassionate. It's not about not caring, but it's about observing it and just noticing and leaning into what is there here for me to see. That's one of my favorite questions. What do I need to do in order to forgive? Just start asking yourself questions, and maybe just being willing to begin the process is huge. Once you say that, it will start moving you along that path just by opening up your heart and saying, I don't know how. I may not know what to do next, but I am absolutely willing to move in this direction of forgiveness. And as Dale said, if you need support, we are here. We are all here, not just the Sensational Six, but we have just an amazing array of practitioners and ministers for you to work with. So if you need support, call the center. Let us know. We're here.
Yes, that's wonderful. I guess I'll chime in here a little bit. Um, it's all about balance. And when you're in that energy space where you're not forgiving, your life is out of balance. And that's what we're really talking about here is we are energy. We are the ebb and flow of life. And when you have that energy within yourself that blocks that natural flow, like a current, like electricity, it causes stagnation. And like Gail was talking about, disease, just all sorts of bodily examples. It shows up in physical form. The energy that we are, when it's blocked, when it's constricted, shows up in physical forms. And a lot of people think that those are causes, but no, those are effects. And that's one of the things that we do teach here is that all of life in this physical plane is an effect, because first and foremost, there's only one first cause, and that's spirit. That's the universe, That's Mother Nature, it's God, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what you call it because it is. And so by allowing yourself to forgive, whether it's yourself or whether it's somebody else, you're bringing yourself back into the spiritual truth of who you are and what you're here to do, whatever that is. So allow yourself to forgive. And I will guarantee you that the second you do that, you will notice there is a bounce to your step. There, you are lighter. You are not burdened. You are not that ox carrying that burden around anymore. You are light as a feather. Seriously, you are light as a feather. The world just opens up and becomes full of possibilities. So allow yourself the greatest gift you can give yourself, and that is to forgive.
We had a comment from someone, Maya Angelou, and said, I can forgive, but I cannot be anxious to put my hand back in the same fire. That is powerful. I mean, what about that one person that you have in your life that every time you're around them, there's something else to forgive? They're just caustic and they're toxic, and maybe it's your family. So it's really hard to, do that separation. But it's just like what Jesus said, forgive and then forgive again, forgive 7 times, 7 times, or 7 times 49, whatever, just keep forgiving, keep forgiving. But there's no rule that says that you have to continually walk back in and be around a toxic person that is constantly putting you in that space. And so you have to make a decision. Like Reverend Joe said one time, just because you shared a womb doesn't mean you have to share a turkey, and so sometimes, we feel like obligated we have to go to Thanksgiving and we're going to be around this one person that no matter what always manages to push every button we have, and so you've got to stop and think. You're the one that put the buttons in place, so what do you want to do? Do you want to allow them to keep doing it? So you have two choices. Either you take away the buttons or you just remove yourself. And it's very simple to do. And it sounds harsh, but your first job is to forgive and keep this body and keep this temple in a place of peace and serenity and love and joy and abundance in your natural state of health, in your natural state. So whatever's causing that, just stop and think about it. What do I need to do to get myself to where I am more indifferent to what they're saying and I'm not drinking the poison every time I'm around them? So that's something to think about. It's your work, not theirs.
Yeah, Cheryl, a place I like to go to with just for understanding, because I think a lot of forgiveness, there's an understanding component. And I like to go to compassion, because we don't know what people have been through. We don't know their experiences. We don't know their mindset that has given rise to whatever has come into our venue and created a situation that forgiveness is coming up. When I can really go beyond the situation and see them as, because we are all an expression of God. When I can go there and have a little compassion and say, you know what, I don't know why they are like they are. And they may have had a really tough life. They may have had encountered situations. So I'm going to come from love, going back to what Lori said, love, love only. When I can get to that place, and of course, like I said earlier, I need to do my work to get myself at an open space to be able to go there. But once I can go there and say, wow, I'm going to be loving and compassionate. No, I don't have to have lunch with them. But if I can at least come from understanding, that's another place to go with stilling my energy and also giving them love. Although, we do need to keep I think it's important, Cheryl, what you talked about. We do need to honor ourselves. If somebody is caustic, we don't need to have them in our lives, but we also don't need to continue hating them. We can give them love and just honor them on their journey.
Everything is either love or a call for love. Said that the other week, and it is true. And when you look at it that way, when someone is not behaving in alignment with their highest self, it is a call for love. The last thing that person needs is our condemnation. What they need is love. And again, I agree with Cheryl. Don't put yourself in that position. If you're, if it's affecting your health, then you have every right to not be in that situation. I don't think that's. Don't stick your hand back in the fire, but as you withdraw from that situation, do so with love, knowing, seeing that there's pain there. There's some suffering going on, and we don't want to add to that because that's not in alignment with who we are. That's not in alignment with the nature of our true being. And when we're out of alignment, it really bothers us. When we behave badly, it bothers us because it's not in alignment with who we are. And so that person who's out of alignment in that moment is already bothered. So we don't want to add to that. We want to relieve that if possible by responding rather than reacting. So, forgiveness is a response rather than a reaction.
What has helped me around compassion and forgiveness is remembering from our teaching that everyone is doing the very best they can in that moment. And that was a little bit hard for me to understand at first until I applied it to myself and realized that, yes, I make my own fair share of mistakes. And yet, at the time, I am doing the best that I could in that moment. And that's where coming back to love, as Lori said, is so very important. Because even though we may not have that person as a part of our life anymore, and that may be perfectly appropriate, we can remove ourselves from a place of love. And just keeping in mind that everyone is doing the very best they can in that moment based upon what they've lived, where their consciousness is in that moment, what they've experienced, and it's different for all of us. And the way that we can help them is to come from that place of love.
Okay, we're getting kind of close to the end here. If anybody has any more questions, but I'd just like to add to what Gail said about coming from that place of love. Just be sure you're not the person that needs to be forgiven, that you're not the one that's maybe it's your child or whatever, that you're not the one that's always putting something on them that makes them, feel less than, why aren't you doing this, or why, you know what I'm saying? So just be sure that you're the one that maybe needs to be forgiven by them, but maybe you're the one that needs to forgive yourself for continuing to create that situation, where every time you're around this person, they just want to run from you because you're just, why aren't you this? So just remember that it comes both ways. You could be the one that somebody else needs to be forgiving. So remember that and come from compassion, like everyone else has said. That's such a beautiful thought. Thank you so much. Anyway, I guess we're kind of near the end, unless there's any more questions. No, but we've had some great comments. They said really good comments and great job. So great job, guys. So this is wonderful. So we're going to turn it over to William to kind of close us out here.
Well, thank you very much, Cheryl. You've already asked my question. Is there any other comments, any other lasting thoughts about this situation, about our subject matter, the law of forgiveness? And I guess my closing thought is this: like we've all been talking about here, the law of forgiveness ultimately is about yourself. Whether you need to forgive yourself for something you've done to others or vice versa. The point is, forgiving allows your heart to be open to allow that new experience to come into your life. And so with that, I would like to thank every one of our panelists here, the fabulous five. You know what? The sensational six, because Brad is on his way to see his son. He's going off to Colorado, Denver, I believe. That sounds nice right now when it's 103 degrees already or something like that. To be up in Denver now where it's nice and cool, it's got to be really nice. But anyway, enjoy the journey and the sights, but allow us, every one of us, enjoy the sights of your life. When you walk your dog in the morning, or whether you're petting your cat or calling your grandchild, or whether you're calling your son, your daughter, or your parents. Just allow yourself to be into that moment, that flow of life expressing. And when you really feel that energy, your heart opens up. And it's in that moment that it is so easy to forgive. It's carrying around a ton of bricks and you just set them on the ground and you just release it. Give yourself that gift of forgiveness for yourself and for somebody else. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's a gift that you're giving to yourself to allow you to experience that higher expression of yourself. And so with that, I would like to say thank you for joining us. This is what's coming up in the next week here. Let's see here. Today is Thursday. We have tomorrow, Reverend Charles is going to be interviewing Reverend Darnell Jones, who is from the Chicago CSL. I love Reverend Charles. He is so different than Dr. Joe, but he has such a fun energy about himself and his little twitches. I love it. It's fun to watch him. Yes, Cheryl, I'm calling him out on it, but I just love it. But the fact is, he is so different from Dr. Joe, but yet I appreciate everything that he has to say because he comes from spirit and expresses spirit so differently that allows me to see and understand and see each person's divinity. And so that's what he's doing tomorrow. Then on Saturday we have
William, that's Friday. I want tomorrow's Jeff Harrison.
Oh, darn it.
I just want to.
Thank you. Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you so much, Dale. See, there you go. The artist in me, man. What time is it? I have no clue. But okay, so Thursday is Reverend Charles, who's going to be interviewing Jeff Harrison. Jeff Harrison, every one of these videos that you see, that is the man, and his company called Swing Point Media. He is here in the Valley. He is local. He is such a wonderful man. He should be a reverend. I mean, the things that he says, he is always about empowering himself and expanding himself and taking classes and researching. And his walks that he does in the morning are just fabulous. So that's Reverend Charles and Jeff Harrison tomorrow. Then on Friday is going to be Darnell Jones. Saturday is going to be the meditation. Every single week we have somebody different. And each time it's going to speak to you in that particular modality. Allow yourself to be open to various types of meditation. It just expands your consciousness and allows you to appreciate the style that you like that much more. But again, allow somebody else to give you that gift of their time and their expression of spirit. So join them at 10 o'clock on Saturday for the meditation. And then, of course, on Sunday, heck, you can't miss it. Dr. Joe, 10 o'clock. Gotta love it. He and Reverend Charles, just every single Sunday, just blow me away at what they have to say and gives me things to think about for the next following week. So that's what's happening and coming up in the week to come. And so at this time, if we are all done, is there any other comments that any of you would like to join in? If not,
offertory. We would love.
Oh, yes.
I'll let you speak to it, William.
Thank you, Dale. I tell you what, she's got my back, and every one of us has each other's back. And you know what? I'm going to talk about that. Darn it. Have your neighbor's back. By having your neighbor's back, and what I mean by that is be there for them. If they need help with grocery shopping, you're going somewhere, just ring that doorbell. Knock on your neighbor's door. Do they need anything? Because again, by opening your heart up to being of service to others, whether it's just to call on the phone to say hello, how are you? I've missed you, been thinking about you. Just something as simple as that can change the trajectory of somebody's life. And so part of our teaching is the law of circulation. And so at this time, we'd like to ask that you give generously. Because what we do here today and what we do every single day at 10 o'clock, and then when the town, when the city, the county, the world opens back up, we are here for you for programs like today. Every single day, there's always something going on, but for us particular, our Sensational Six, we're here to help you and enlighten you and to inspire you. By your financial support, you're allowing this center to do what it does best, and that is to educate you to the magnificence of who you are. We're changing lives one heart at a time. So why not let's start with your own. So please, at the bottom of this page, donate right now. Everything is greatly, greatly appreciated. And so with that said, I would just like to do a closing prayer. Allow yourself to be comfortable. Close your eyes. If you're so inclined to, open your eyes, gaze towards the heavens. But like Dr. Joe says, pray with your head up high. There's nothing to be ashamed of right here. There is only love. So allow your gaze, even though your eyes are closed, allow your head to lift up towards the heavens, expecting that new experience. And so this is what I know right here and right now, that there's only one thing happening right now, and that is the law. The law. It expressing spirit, love, peace, honor, forgiveness are all attributes of spirit. They are my attributes. They are my expressions right here and right now. Everything that God is, I am. And so that is in this knowing, this moment right here, that I claim my truth. I claim the truth for myself, and I claim the truth for everyone out there. The divinity of life is already within you. Allow that energy to express. Allow that energy to excite. I allow that energy within me to explode, to become form in expression. Whether it's writing a book or painting a canvas, or whether it's just saying hello to someone. That divine expression is mine right here and right now. I allow life to be a grandeur of my experience. Such a word, grandeur. Got to use that more often. But it is the love of life. Not knowing what's coming next, but opening up my heart and my arms to allow that energy to come forth, to become the experience in my life. That is what gratitude is about. To know that there is life there waiting for the yes to be said. The longing, the needing of life to expand. I am so very grateful. I am grateful for this time. I am grateful for the companionship, for the exchange of ideas, for the aha moment within myself because of this conversation, the law of forgiveness allows my heart to open up, allows my life to be ready for the next big adventure. And so with gratitude in my heart, I allow life to unfold. I allow what needs to be released, and I allow the next greatest adventure to come into my life. With love, forgiveness, and gratitude, I just allow life to unfold perfectly as it always does. And with that said, I just release this word as law, knowing it is already done right here and right now in this moment. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day.